Hello. I remember when I was a young girl, around 10 years old, and I was in my granny's living room. There were several of us, grandkids and a few of her kids. And she was telling us, she says, Jesus is getting ready to come back. And one of the family members was big and pregnant, and they got very disheartened and said, no, he can't come back yet. I want to have my baby, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And I thought that was a little odd at the time. I was a young girl. Years later, about a decade later, another family member was telling us about the urgency, the be prepared, and even having an emergency kit ready for the end days. And another family member was pregnant and with a small child, and she started to cry and got very upset because she had dreams and aspirations. And people don't know that when they have more, they put more, invest more into their own ways, into their own ideas and aspirations and their will, and they're putting God's will to the side. They're building a golden calf. It's idolatry. But pregnant women, I've seen, it's been my experience. First of all, we know we're emotional when we're pregnant and things, but pregnant women, we get in the mode of, okay, I'm with child, and this is the way I envision things. This is the way I want it to be, and they can get out of the way of the Lord. This doesn't mean that everyone tends to do that, because everyone does tend to do that. But these were the experiences that I had with women that were pregnant and being told that this is the last days. I have gum in my mouth. Very few people want to hear that, and they build walls against those who come with that message. But while we're here on this side of heaven, that is the message. God wants us to be prepared at all times, because as lawlessness increases, we really don't know when our last day on earth is. So we should always be prepared. But when we react in such a way that we get offended by hearing that, or not wanting to hear that, because we have built idols up, we have built up our own visions and aspirations and what we want to build here on earth, instead of being in the will of God, that we have come far from the will of God, and we become like Peter when Jesus rebuked him and said, get behind me, Satan, for you know not what God's will is. And he was saying, you're out of the will of God. You're not aligning with that. And much of the American Christians are very offended by that message. They have dreams and aspirations, and they're not, even Jesus himself, he says, take this cup from me, but even so, not my will, but yours. Setting the example for us as how we should be. And we have to get to the point to where we wake up saying, not my will, Lord, but yours, that we trust in that. That's an anchor. But we have built up much idolatry. People don't realize that when they do that, they put a wider chasm between them and God, And that's why some people feel that they're not connected to God, because they're still hoping in their own dreams and aspirations and visions of what they want to do on this earth. And they don't have a heavenly mind. They're not heavenly minded. They're worldly minded. And I remember, even as a little girl, I had a great aunt that she was very wild and worldly, but then she became saved. And once she became saved, she was the opposite. She was full of joy, and she was always sharing Jesus with everyone. And I remember family members would say, I don't want to go near her. I don't want to hear about Jesus. And it's still true today that the closer you get to Jesus, even your own family members will kind of not want to be around you. They'll call you peculiar, because we are peculiar people. The closer you get with Christ, the more the world does not understand you. And that's okay, because the season we're in, we have to be heavenly minded. We can trust in the Lord and his will at all times, no matter what stage or where we're at in life. We can always trust in his will. His ways are above our ways. His thoughts are above our thoughts. A day is 1,000 years. This is a day to God. Here we are in Ephesians 6:14. Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, take the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. So ultimately, take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand. You know, my family members that were warning us that these are the last days, they were right. It doesn't matter if it was 20 years ago or 30 years ago, it's showing that increasingly so, the world is becoming more lawless. And you have to have your heart aligned with the will of God and not your own dreams and aspirations, because you're building a wedge between you and God and the ultimate will of God, which is the most just and beautiful.